Nice to see you again on this beautiful day. And this time with a quote by Marc Andreessen, the innovator who created Netscape and Mosaic, the first internet browsers. He says, "The world is a very malleable place. If you know what you want and you go for it with maximum energy and drive and passion, the world will often reconfigure itself around you much more quickly and easily than you would think." Spark some ideas. What do you think about this quote, and which kind of experiences do you have which point to the validity of this observation?
Great quote, great thought, and a cool example too. Marc Andreessen is such a visionary integrator, or a visionary innovator. That's what I mean to say. Over technology, he's kind of seen, first he started off with this first internet browser ever mission that he pulled off, and then obviously founded Andreessen Horowitz, really was behind or a part of so much of technological innovation over the last couple of decades through that. And now, of course, is participating in pushing forward the new frontier of blockchain and especially AI. That is, in my view, the climax of all of human invention. And maybe that's a loud proclamation, but I actually think the magnitude of the impact that we're about to see from this current wave of innovations is going to be beyond anything we've seen in the history of our species as far as invention and innovation goes. And his point here is totally a mantra of the visionary, this feeling that if you have the full life force to put behind a vision that is truly yours, that you truly feel all throughout you, and you have the courage to go through it and to pursue the risks and the vulnerability of putting something out there into the world and seeing if it survives or fails, and putting your whole life kind of on the line, or at least your whole livelihood at stake, then the possibilities within reality are far more unlocked than we might otherwise think, or certainly more unlocked than the herd mind would assume, than feels safe or that feels normal or whatever. The openness of reality, the sandbox mode nature of our paths is actually far more open, far more possible than we're ever taught in school and that society ever says is normal. How do you think about this open potentiality of our paths? What does that mean for how we should recalibrate our life strategy versus what we would otherwise be inclined to?
In my opinion, it's like a way of thinking which you see when you look around you in your room or at the place you are right now and see all the stuff there, maybe a lamp, maybe a bed, maybe a door, maybe a cup of tea, or coffee. Everything around you is made by someone. And then if it didn't grow by itself, then somebody made it. You know, the door, somebody measured it, somebody fitted it, somebody put it together, somebody implemented it. And if you, once you realize that, you find yourself in a position to see the people who did that maybe were not smarter than you, but they just did it. They just decided to do it. They found their way into that. Maybe they had an environment where doing and producing was more likely, but then they took action. And this is it actually. If you know what you want to take action on, and then you go after it because you follow what you know, the world will present her options to you, and then you know what to choose of them. And so this feeling of the world reconfiguring itself around you comes to be because you choose the options which are aligned with what you want. And with that, you feel more opportunities in the direction you want open themselves up. And it always feels like that when I walk around and know what I want and then go for it. And then this feeling is just nice. It is worth to try and pursue it, to gain clarity of what you want. And then, yeah, for sure, it is a contract you make with yourself to not be satisfied until you get it. Therefore, gain clarity what you really want, your thick desires, the way you want to live, the way you want to relate yourself to the world, to other people, your legacy you want to leave behind. Think about that. And maybe people on your funeral, what will they say? Think about that. And then you gain a different kind of perspective than just living your life day to day. And then if you uncovered your thick desires, and then you can decide to go after it. It takes time, you need to be patient, and you need to take action with energy, drive, and passion for sure. But your decision makes it you being the architect of your own life. And you take the agency, you take the reins and the steering wheel of your life and influence what will be said on your funeral.
Yeah, and there must be this courage in order to say that I want this big, hairy, audacious goal from the universe. I am aiming toward this. I am asking for this. If it's not, I want to sit in a cubicle for 40 years, then there is going to be some degree of vulnerability in that. If we say that I want to build this company, then we're going to have no shortage of friends who are going to tell us that that's a dumb idea. You're going to lose everything you have. This is going to end in disaster. That's not like people like us don't do that type of a thing. There's no shortage of self-limiting beliefs that people will gladly pour upon you from the outside. And so to stand on your own, to let go of the constraints, but also the safety of a more well-defined path that somebody else has laid out for us. The safety of having 10 or 20 peers at the same company, in the same class, at the same position, all doing the same things, going to the same place with the same goals and intentions. And now step out on your own, naked and alone into the world and say that I'm going to build this vision from scratch. I'm going to manifest this thing and be the one that is leading and telling people about this vision and bringing people along to it is intensely vulnerable, because of course you can fail. And of course, Marc Andreessen would say, he would have no problem saying after this quote that, like, yes, you'd be shocked at what is possible, but there is no shortage of hardship and stress and challenge and difficulty and pain and risk and potential failures that lay along the way. Both of those things are true. And so you must raise your capacity to hold this of risk. You must raise your capacity to let go over controlling the future, because you can't control the future. If you want to create something, you, by the very nature of doing something in the world, you will be in an unpredictable environment. Technology will be shifting the nature of your business. It will be vulnerable to external forces of the economy or the government or whatever. And you're never on completely solid ground where you have a firm grip and you just get a steady paycheck into your account every 2 weeks. And the possibilities are endless on the upside and the downside. The excitement and the joy and the satisfaction that you could achieve from building has the mirror image of the pain and the disappointment and the shame and the upsetness and the discouragement that lies on the side of failure. And so it's a different, to open our possibilities means to enter an arena where we no longer are in control of what happens and how it affects us and this and that. We have skin in the game. We have upside and downside possibilities and vulnerabilities, and the speaking what we want into the world to ourselves and others, the having the courage to envision something that does not yet exist and believe that we can go and be a catalyst for building it, even though of course we don't do every piece or even close, to catalyze and to create a vision. This is something that, and to manifest something that does not yet exist. This is something that is vulnerable in its very nature. You are putting yourself out there if you're saying that you're going to make something that isn't yet there. And especially if you need to get other people on board with the vision or resources on board with the mission. However, there is and so we're tempted to, because of the vulnerability, we're tempted to not do it. We're tempted to keep ourselves small. We're tempted to keep our vision small. We're tempted to keep our aims small because it's safer and it's more secure and it's more predictable. But there is a real power in manifestation. There is a real power in having a vision and having faith in the universe that, no, I cannot map out every single step from here to there. No, I definitely cannot control the external environment and make myself impervious to all of these vast tidal waves of forces in the external world. No, I cannot guarantee my success. No, I cannot guarantee that this is not going to end in super, super hard times and disappointment and this and but I'm having faith to put this out there in the universe. I'm trusting that this is something that if it is coming from the right place, that I'm trusting that this is what I'm meant to be doing and the path that I'm meant to be on. And I'm trusting that even though certainly there's surface area for things to go wrong, by putting myself out there and leading with an open heart, things also will happen serendipitously. I will meet somebody that will connect me to this opportunity that will point me over here. I will bump into this person that will teach me this concept that gives me a new connection that empowers a new possibility. I will, because I'm in the arena, I'm talking to a potential customer and this person tells me he doesn't need this, but actually he does really need a solution to this. And that puts me onto something new, and actually entering the arena with our intentions and with saying and trying to build earnestly a vision, it opens ourselves up to the possibilities and what we wouldn't have even expected to happen. It's this luck surface area possibility, and the luck surface area paired with actually our capacity to recognize what luck is when it's actually in front of us. If we're not in the arena, there might be 10 lucky serendipitous possible interactions or moments that I had yesterday. But if I wasn't saying that this is my intention, this is what I'm setting out to do, this is what I want, this is what I'm asking the universe for, this is what I'm trusting the universe to help me manifest, then what would be luck would just bounce off of us. It doesn't even, we have the same interactions, but they have no opportunity to enrich us or help us build because we haven't had the courage to put ourselves out there and tell ourselves and others what our vision is, what we want to manifest, what we are asking for. And so this is a huge part of the power of intentionality, the power of manifestation, is that it opens our eyes to see the possibilities that are right in front of us and the connections that are right in front of us. And it does have this cost that is very uncomfortable for us because we don't want this uncertainty of our own identity, of our own path, of our own futures. But if we can learn to tolerate and give ourselves that capacity to face that fear and to open ourselves to that vulnerability, then the possibilities that we have are totally boundless and more boundless and open by the year. How do you feel about this duality of the cost of exposing ourselves, the benefit of also exposing ourselves to fortune and connection and possibility and manifestation?
The cost and benefit should be in an asymmetric relationship to each other. You have to have a strong belief that the downsides that you could encounter are much less than the upsides, which you project into most of the possible paths that the world will take and you will take. And therefore, it requires the courage to believe in your ability to figure things out so that you can uncover the paths which have these asymmetric upsides. And courage means acting despite knowing the risk, or despite the risks that maybe you don't see, or despite the fear, actually, the fear and the risks. And oftentimes it's more likely that fear is higher than the risks you face, because the fear is much more a psychological challenge. And we humans evolved in a much more brutal environment than we are in right now, at least speaking for most of the people who are alive in the Western society right now. And the courage, like acting despite of the risk, you definitely put this vision into the world and then do this iteration step by step and evolve yourself and evolve your vision, but only in the arena, only in the real world. You have to learn on the job for the real world to respond to you in this asymmetric way. As like Naval said once, learning can be done very easily, but real learning takes place on the job because you have to interact with the real world to don't just act on models, but really act on the feedback you receive from what you do. So therefore, you also have to reflect all the time and compare what actually happened to the vision you have and the goal you set out to go after. And with that, you are more like a control system in a chaotic environment which can regulate itself and steer itself towards pointing towards the right direction. Like stubborn on the vision, but flexible on the details. So the vision is clear. You have to really speak it into the world. And then the malleability of the world is the response of the world from your inputs taking actions, and the world responds. So it reconfigures itself around you. You have to believe it. And then there's another Steve Jobs quote I found where he said that people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who actually do.
Yes. And that flexibility you point to is really hard. Like, how do you put your whole self out there? How do you put everything on the line? How do you have your name and your life and your whole path and what you're doing and the people around you and their livelihoods and all of this? How do you have all that at stake while maintaining a trust and a flexibility? It's really hard. And the tricky part too is you can't go in there with no confidence or self-belief or trust. You must have the self-belief to inspire and lead others, whether it's people that work for you or people in the outer world, to manifest and collect all of the necessary components of what needs to be built in order to create this vision. However, it's of the utmost importance, the foundation of doing this in a way that is sustainable and possible and healthy and not sort of a ticking time bomb of self-destruction, is looking at our heart of, are we courageously manifesting this vision from a place of pure trust and faith? This thing that I'm hearing, that this calling that I feel is coming from a place of integrity, that it is for the right reasons, and I have every reason to trust that the universe or God will provide me the support that I need at each step along the way to face the challenges that will no doubt await me on the way, from the things that I am blind to and from all of the things that I am exposed to that are beyond my power to control, the outer world namely. Or do we have an unsustainable and unflexible mindset of, I am going to manifest this vision because I'm so damn smart that I can do anything and I'm a genius and I'm the best and nothing can stop me because I'm so special and I'm really unique and I'm this and I'm that and I'm awesome and this is gonna rock because I rock and because I can't be stopped and because I'm smarter than other people and because I'm the best entrepreneur ever and all of this. This is the ego and pride, and it can at first inspire us to the same starts as this more authentic and this more rooted and grounded place of being, of pursuing a vision from a mindset of faith and out of a sense of calling forward into creating what was placed on us to create. However, the egoic way is not sustainable in the same way because we lack the very flexibility that you talked about. We lack bendiness. If we do this from a place of ego, then we already know all the right answers, or we've convinced ourselves that we know all the right answers in our brain, and we're unable to iterate in the same way. We're unable to receive feedback from the outer world. We're unable to receive signals that this way that we were trying to market, this way that we were trying to position this way that we were talking about this thing, this way that we're trying to lead, this concept that we had of the organization, or whatever the case may be, it is totally blinded by ego or pride if we allow that to slip in. It causes us to make bad decisions and to actually blind ourselves to even admitting to ourselves that these bad decisions were what led to these unfortunate outcomes. Furthermore, it saps our energy and our authenticity and our magnetism for other people that are the foundation of trust-based and sustainable leadership. And so our heart in this, as we do something courageous and scary, whenever we're fearful, there is a temptation to fall into the ego as this ultimate defense mechanism, as this ultimate thing to protect me and to guard me and to make me feel like I'm strong and not weak and to make me feel like I'm smart and not stupid. And it does promise to help us with this whole confidence thing. However, if we pay attention truly to the cause and effects of trying to find our confidence from a place of pride, we find that it is a total house of cards, because the other side of pride is shame. The other side of pride is these things that we have to repress and bury down and hide away and don't look at and don't think about and don't think critically about. And then we have to superimpose this fake reality that fits our narrative over the real reality, and we feel cognitive dissonance and we feel divided from ourselves and others. And this saps our powers and causes us to suffer greatly. And this is a huge temptation that visionaries face, especially when they're in difficult circumstances or they haven't done this before and they're trying to find that confidence to give themselves the courage. It's so natural and even culturally conditioned to try to find courage and to try to find vision from a place of pride. But if we do that and we fall for it, of course we will in moments at times, and it's not a permanent black and white thing, and we can guide and recalibrate ourselves back. But that's to say, the importance of this is absolutely paramount, that we keep and come back to when we lose our balance. And that is how we can have a bendiness to navigate a changing world, because the world's not staying in place. And so even if we had the perfect roadmap 3 years ago, that might have applied to the world 3 years ago, but today is today, and things have changed. And the last note on things have changed is back to the barriers, the opportunities. It really is so much more of a level playing field than it's ever been. 100 years ago, 150 years ago, try being a peasant farmer and trying to start a railroad company. There's no way. You can never do it in your whole life. You don't have the capital, you can't amass an organization to build it, you can't get the land, you can't talk to the government to get eminent domain. You have no way to build a railroad company unless you're already super wealthy and well connected and capitalized and high trust and plugged in and have the right people at the right places. Compare that to building a software as a service with Cursor today, where you can have $20 and you can go online and you can get this AI to build this thing, and it creates this software as a service, and then you have a telephone already and you can call companies to try to sell it, and you can try to sell early on and with no organization yet, and you can iterate and really have an MVP and go try to market it and figure out what fits and then build beyond that. The opportunity to build and create from scratch today is so much, honestly, lower barriers, so much lower friction, so much more open-ended than it ever has been. This is the era of the full sender in almost all ways. It is a crazy time to be alive. And it honestly is the era of the full sender too, because the quote safe paths are no longer safe. The accountants in their third year at a big four accounting firm, they were in the safest career path in the entire universe 30 years ago. There was a rock solid job security. They are going to be a staff accountant, then a senior staff accountant, then they're going to be an accounting manager, and then after a few years they might be a senior accounting manager, and they have all these opportunities to go to these other accounting companies. Now, where is that? Now, arguably, a lot of staff accountants are going to be replaced by work that is instantly done with no errors within 5 years. And so where did the security of the most secure paths go? It's no longer here. This is the era of the full sender, whether we like it or not. And there's no undoing reality on this, is my view. How do you think about the opportunity that we have, where we're at, and finding the right balance with the possibilities before us?
Yeah, you mentioned that this is not a safe path anymore, the safe paths that once were safe. So it is pointing towards the fragility, robust, anti-fragility triad Nassim Taleb coined with the turkey who of himself more and more secure the more days pass by, because the butcher feeds and feeds and feeds him. But on the day that he has to give his life on Thanksgiving, he felt the most secure ever. So this is the turkey illusion we often face in life. So being comfortable with insecurity, being comfortable with going through periods of hardship and pain, and increasing our negative capacity to deal with all the shit which comes at us. This is actually a much more robust way. And then if we can use the shit and grow from it, like a Buddha tree whom I wrote about, if we use everything which comes at us and grow from it, then we can gain this anti-fragility and actually grow from the stress and grow from the disorder. So in that regard, the taxi driver is more anti-fragile than the accountant in the firm you talked about. And this is also what I strive for, exposing myself to the real world and bringing value the unique way I can bring it and I'm capable of. And at the same time, increasing my negative capacity. Meditation helps with that a lot. 12 minutes is my sweet spot, as I told you. And after these 12 minutes of sitting and watching the breath, I have much more clarity, and there's a signal to noise ratio. The chatter in my head is more drowned out and more silenced. And with that, I can feel my intuition much more clearly, and even go into a thinking time period, so I can solve questions which I haven't asked myself yet, but solve them to a much better point and widen the idea space much wider. So we have the opportunities at hand, but also we have the distractions at hand right now. And the world is accelerating in its technological possibilities, and all the good and the bad increase in volatility. Yeah, with that, we have to find strategies where we know our purpose, we know our life strategy, and try to align what we do with it. And also have a strategy to drown out the noise of the world. And you shared with me like a very valuable filter, just filtering words in your social media feed, filtering words which you don't want to have displayed. And posts with these words are not displayed. So you can just filter out the political nonsense, the stuff which increases the anger you feel, or distraction, or lives rent free in your head and doesn't pay a price to live there, but it touched you to a point where it's just there and you think about it. And you can hack back, actually. This is also a challenge we face, but we can act upon hacking back and regaining the quietude, the calmness, the intuition, the feeling for our own intuition in our lives. Reclaiming that makes us much more anti-fragile, because we have more clarity on top of which we can act. We are more likely to see through our biggest barriers, which are our ego barrier, the things we identify with mindlessly, and pour our energy into it without even being conscious of it. If we have a political discussion and we firmly discuss from the viewpoint of one side, we pour so much energy of our life into it without even being aware that this kind of system, which feeds off of our energy, gets our energy. And if we are aware of that and we ask ourselves, does this touch our life in a real way, or is it just imaginary? And then we see, okay, many of these things which live rent-free in our head are imaginary problems, psychological failures,
Yeah.
which do not have to be there, which are actually nothing, but we believe they are something. Our narratives point towards they are something. And then in our actions, they come into existence in their consequences. But these making the consequences of our beliefs real doesn't have to be influenced by our ego. So we can drop our ego with just a tiny meditation session, for example. And we then, when we have more clarity, we can also collaborate better, because we have better boundaries. We can tell people what we appreciate and what not, how to work with me. And then also working with people removes our blind spots we have in life. Not removes them, but we don't know what we don't know. But if we work together with people and talk about stuff they have points of view which we didn't even consider, and which enrich the opportunity space, the possible space of solutions for whichever challenge we face in life right now. And with that, I guess these strategies are good to reduce our ego barrier and also reduce our blind spots. What do you think, Peyton, and what is your intention going into this week?
Yeah, first of all, just to touch on your point about energy, that is the core resource for creatives. If we want to build something, if we want to manifest any vision out there, the thing that we fundamentally have to work with is our energy. Our energy first, our time is second to our energy. This is something that many people don't recognize how important it is. And you're also totally right that so much of what we're tempted to follow and consume our mind on is feeding off of our energy, is sort of on first glance, it feels delicious or even energizing to engage in some of these addictive patterns of thoughts, but it feeds off of our energy. It leaves us with less energy than if we would have had our mind free of some of these cycles and narratives and identities over things that are outside of our control. So very worthwhile to call out. And my intention for regarding today is this a sort of renewed sense of the openness of possibilities in the world today, a renewed sense of optimism and thinking outside of the boundaries that I've put on what's possible, and claiming more agency over how malleable the external world is. Having that trust that if this vision, if this thing that I feel called toward is coming from an authentic place, I can have faith that it is possible, even if I do not see the entire path now. And then I can have the courage to follow it and put myself out there and take risks, believing in that possibility and trusting that the universe will bring the support I need along the way. And the current landscape of where we sit, the tools and resources that are available to us at no cost or low cost, is insanely empowering and really destroys a lot of the walls that used to keep us out from many ideas. So embracing that possibility, being intentional about my energy, and really having a questioning the self-limitations that I put on myself and the limitations that I put on what can be done and how long it will take and how hard it has to be and all of this. This is what I'm planning to bring into this week. Bringing a lot more questioning my assumptions on those things, and certainly an intentionality of energy being channeled into creation. How about you? What are your intentions?
Pretty similar. Not to lose energy too much on outdated habits, thinking patterns, and identities, and also clarifying what I really want so that the world can reconfigure itself around that what I want.
Yes, yes. Excellent, my friend. Excellent. Well, I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. Wonderful discussion as always. I'm looking forward to busting open those possibilities in the world this week. And I look forward to talking to you on the next one.
Let's go, brother. Let's go. See you
Indeed.
soon.
You.